everyone, welcome back for another edition of Virtual Monthly Meditations. I'm your instructor Mike, and I'm happy to have you all watching this particular practice. What I wanted to do for this monthly meditation, I wanted to do what I call the foundations of meditation. There are a few tricks that everybody who wants to learn how to meditate, there's a few tricks that you should always know, some things you should always practice with whatever technique you're going to do. And one of the most basic and fundamental things about meditation is the breath. Another one is your eyes. And with the eyes, they call it drishti, which means to gaze. That's something that I'm going to have you practice here today. Something to focus on with your eyes, whether that is inside, where you close the eyes, or if you want to have like a half gaze. Some people actually prefer to have their eyes halfway open for this. But those are the two things that I really wanted to emphasize. And the reason why is because every other meditation that you ever do is going to involve these two things. Again, they are so fundamental and so critical for all these other techniques. The reason being, they help more than anything slow the mind down. And every single time I teach any meditation class, I will always have at least one person ask me this question: how do I shut my mind up? You don't. You do not stop thinking. That is an action that will always take place. There is no physical way to stop thinking. The point of meditation is to channel those thoughts and focus on one thing, one technique. Now there's obviously a couple of layers that go along with this. You know, there's several bits and variations that go on with the technique. But again, I wanted to give you this foundation with the eyes and with the breath. And we'll watch the breath move as we go along. There's going to be some energetic sensations that come with our breathing technique. So this will be a sort of an intro to meditation, but it's something, again, this foundation I would advise you to think about any other time that you're ever going to meditate, because it's always going to take place. But before we get started, I want to loosen up the back and the hips a little bit. I will always do a few poses just to kind of keep me loose and ready to go. You know, you don't want to just jump right into sitting upright, because one of the most difficult poses that you can do in yoga is seated meditation. People think I'm joking when I say that, but try it. Try sitting down for 30 minutes without having prepped your hips and spine. For a lot of people, it would be excruciating. So I wanted to just give you a moment. Even though we're not going to sit upright for 30 minutes tonight, we're probably going to do more like 10 minutes or so. Still absolutely necessary to prep the hips and spine. So let's go ahead and we'll do a forward bend, since we're already kind of upright. I hope maybe you are. I don't know. I am. So we're going to start off with a forward bend. So the first thing that we're going to do here, it doesn't matter, again, what you do with your legs. Inner thighs will be the target area for this pose if you're doing butterfly. With the soles of the feet brought together, you falling round in front of you as best as you can. Don't worry about getting the head to the feet, because it's not the point. What I want you to feel is your inner thighs and your back stretching broadly. For some people, though, this butterfly will really aggravate their knees, in which case I would say let's just do a dragonfly pose, where you spread out your legs and you lean forward. You can achieve the inner thigh stretch that way too. Just whatever is going to work best for you. Actually feeling a little bit more here today, so I'm going to stay in a butterfly. Also, I think it looks better in the shot anyway. So with this, again, gentle forward bend, loosening up the back here. This is absolutely necessary before we start any amount of meditation. And just to give you a little bit of history on yoga, the original form of yoga was very much believed to be what we call yin in its nature, very gentle postures held for an extended period of time to prepare the hips and spine for hours of meditation. So imagine having that kind of discipline to meditate for hours on end and do it every day for your whole life, right? Again, I'm not going to throw you into that, because I can't imagine throwing a new student into any more than 15 minutes of meditation. Your mind, it's just not disciplined enough yet. But again, these tricks that I give you today, these little bits of foundational practices, it's going to help make your practice easier to extend. Where maybe you start with 10 minutes, then you work in 15, then you work into 20, 25, 30 kind of thing. and you have a gradual build up to that. When you are ready, there's your time. Just use your hands, slowly push out, lean back or lay down, just whatever feels comfortable for you. But you're gonna take a moment here just to relax. We'll do a back bend next, and then we'll get into our meditation. Our next yin posture, and our last, coincidentally, it's going to be a back bend. The Sphinx pose is usually the one that I would recommend. And you should just feel this dull pressure right here in your lower back. That's all it should be. If it feels really sharp, then come down from it. Please don't push through any sharpness, because it's not therapeutic for you. And the reason why I'm suggesting this, again, because we're going to be sitting upright, and this is definitely the best way to help prepare the spine to be able to stack the bones on top of each other. And that's actually one of the secrets of yoga. It's finding out positions to be able to stack your bones so that your muscles don't have to make so much effort to hold you upright, right? You have this nice balance with that, with the structure of your skeleton. And I'll show you a few ways to get into that when we actually do our meditation too. But for now, again, this is preparatory to make sure that the curve of the lower back is healthy. Go ahead and take a few deep breaths when you're ready. There's your time. Just go ahead and lay on your stomach. It's going to feel nice to do a gentle forward bend after that. So usually a child's pose is going to be the first one that you head to. Ready to enter into our meditation. A few things that we need to cover before we roll into it officially. Seated positions. If sitting on the floor is uncomfortable for you, please go get a chair, pause this video, get a chair, come back, and then hit unpause. Because I want you to be able to sit upright with this, right? I want you to be able to rely on your spine, and if your back really hurts during this, which it could do, it could start hurting, have something there for you. If sitting on the floor is fine, then definitely sit on the floor. Or if all else fails, I'll just say lay down, right? Because I would rather you get the gist of this practice versus trying to perfect how does my seated posture look, right? This actually, the perfection of this might come later on in the practice. And that's just because we need to do more yoga. We need to prep the hips and spine probably a little bit more. Most people usually do. So seated positions. What I'm doing right now, this is called Siddhasana, which means cross-legged. It's the most common yoga pose really when it comes to meditation. But another one from a different tradition called Seiza, and I'll show you from the side here. The reason why is you get this demonstration of sitting on the feet, right? If this feels comfortable for you, then by all means go for it. But for a lot of people, it's knees that are going to start screaming at them. And if that's you, if you start saying, yeah, my knees are screaming, don't do this pose. Or sometimes what you could do to avoid it, if this does just generally feel a little comfortable, but still a little issues here. If you have a yoga block or a couple of pillows, stack them up and sit on them, right? You got that cushion there, so your knees don't have to bend all the way here. You don't have to get the heels to the glute. You keep a little bit of lift there. I make the knees feel a little bit more comfortable. I go both ways, really. I can do Siddhasana, I can sit Seiza. I've been doing this for a while, about a decade now, so these are, it really just comes down to preference. And that might also be how it is for you at some point too. Might just be a preference at some point. So what we'll do, we'll close our eyes and take a moment. Now, sitting upright at first might feel a little abnormal. You might not be so sure where exactly that balance point is, but what I'd advise you to do first, lean forward for a moment and then work your way back slowly to sitting upright, where you can feel the vertebrae and the bones stacking on top of each other. And keeping the eyes closed, right? We'll get to the eyes in a moment, but let's focus on the breath right now. I want you to breathe low in your belly, low in your diaphragm. And actually, if you want to have your hand on your stomach the entire time, might be worth doing just to make sure that you're continuing this particular belly breathing technique. But when you do this breathing technique, when you're breathing low into your diaphragm, you're going to feel your stomach come out on the inhale. It's going to come back in on the exhale, this expansion and contraction, but it's with the lower belly below the belly button. So as low as you can breathe, that's where I want you to be. Let's just do this for a moment. Focus on the breath. I want you to bring your attention and your awareness to your eyes. There's a few techniques that I could recommend for you. Keeping the eyes closed, but still keeping your gaze fixated in between your eyebrows, right here at the bridge of the nose. This is probably the most classical technique that you will see when it comes to meditation, keeping your eyes focused right here. And again, they call it drishti, which means to gaze. But we don't have to get too deep into the Sanskrit translations of this. But keeping your eyes focused and steady on something helps keep the mind steady. I don't know if you're aware of this, but it is neurologically hardwired into your brain for when your eyes move, for your thoughts to move at the same time. So a little trick in meditation, which yogis have known for thousands of years, keeping the eyes fixated and focused on one point, one central point, makes the mind less likely to wander. So when you do this, again, keeping that gaze right here at the bridge of the nose, or if it's uncomfortable for you, for some people it feels like it takes a lot of effort, like myself, I usually will pick something on the floor. Like I'll just stare right at the floor for a moment. And if I want to keep my eyes open, I will. A lot of times I'll end up closing them. But I still have this central fixated gaze going on here. So pick something out, pick a dot out on the floor, on your mat, or right in between the eyes. And we'll practice this for a moment. Keep those eyes steady while focusing on your belly breathing. The final layer to this meditation, I want you to feel the movement of your breath, but not in just the physical sense, but in the energetic sense. When you take an inhale, you can feel this sense of energy rising up your spine, up the back of the spine, coming all the way to the very center of your brain where your eyes are fixated. And then on your exhale, you can feel that energy just kind of fall down the spine to the very tip of the tailbone. So again, let's lift the energy with the inhale, and we will lower it down with the exhale, while simultaneously retaining the gaze, keeping your eyes focused, whether that's on the bridge of the nose or on a dot on the floor. take a few deep breaths. When you're ready, you can slowly ease your way out of your meditation, and then you can open your eyes. Well, thank you for watching, sharing your practice with me. It's been my pleasure. Namaste.